Welcome to another edition of the Stronger Together podcast. I'm Josh Warden with ACSI. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving break. One of the things we're thankful for at ACSI is always opportunities to gather together, learn together, professional development, network with each other in Christian education. A couple of weeks ago, I had a chance to stop by the Catalyst Conference. There's one on the beautiful campus of Dallas Baptist University. Catalyst provides a little more specificity than some other conferences you might get, especially for operations, finance, HR, that sort of thing. It was really great to hear some of the speakers and see leaders network with each other. I had a chance to sit down with Heath Nivens. He's the head of school at McKinney Christian Academy, and he shared a little bit about his experience at Catalyst.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's very few opportunities to look at growth from a leadership perspective from a school operations only lens. And so Catalyst provides that opportunity. And to be able to do that over a really short segment of time, with a team of people from our school, to where you've got that opportunity to go back and have good conversations and to dig into what you've learned and maybe even look at changing some of your practices and processes is extremely helpful. And what I appreciate is I don't feel like I have returned from drinking from a fire hose later. There's tangible take homes that we can use right away for our school.
There will be another edition of the Catalyst Conference coming up in March in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. You can learn more at acsi.org/events. At this Catalyst, I also ran into another school leader. That's Chad McNatt. He's the superintendent at Seattle Christian School in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State. I've seen Chad at a couple different conferences and chatted with him. Actually going to hear from him on this podcast now. More of a student leadership and learning angle, apologetics, kind of more in that realm. The first question I asked him was about strengths of this generation. We talk a lot about challenges. You may hear about the difficulties faced by students in today's culture, but wanted to hear a little more positive note. What does Chad see as a strength of this generation, something that he appreciates of his current students?
One thing that I appreciate, there's more than one, but one is they have a desire to be real. Certainly there's still reputation and kind of how you look online. There's some image, there's some things with that, but still, like at my school or senior class I'm thinking of, they really care about being real. We use the word authentic or genuine, but I kind of prefer the word real because it just kind of cuts through it. They want to be real. They want to ask real questions. They don't want to just, okay, you said that, I'm doing that. They don't want to just go through motions because it's a class they're supposed to take and they know the right answer and it's the church answer, and they really want to go, yeah, but what is it? But why would I follow Christ? How does this line up? Kind of from an apologetics standpoint, at least that's my experience right now currently with our seniors. They want to know, but why? How does this jive with this aspect of Scripture? Why would I believe this? Not from a place of deconstruction as in trying to not believe, but actually trying to find their way toward a belief. In those who I know in this generation who said, you know what, I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to do that. It's not because their parents did or because the church said, it's because it's real to them, because they've actually put in the time to learn and to listen and to dig into hard questions from a place of curiosity. And when they say, I'm going to follow Christ, it's serious, it's for real. And so there's a lot of things I appreciate, but I appreciate that seeking the real, because God is real. We don't believe it because it sounds good. We believe it because it's true. And they want that truth, and I appreciate that.
Well, I love that heart behind what he's sharing. And it's within this topic that the apologetics conferences come into play. ACSI has put a lot of effort into these apologetics conferences, making them available for students and educators to come and learn about apologetics, become equipped in how to answer a lot of difficult questions. And Chad had kind of a first row look at how these conferences started, especially in Seattle. So I asked him about those conferences and how they started and what they've developed into.
Yeah, so last school year, our school and another school actually kicked off that conference. We put that together initially, then ACSI jumped in, which was awesome. They brought all the players and resources and perspective and programming to it. It was so great. So we took our entire high school. There was almost 1,000 kids there, and we took them, and some were like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome." Others are like, well, it's a school day, I'm supposed to go. But I would say it was the catalyst for what I'm experiencing, faith and following Christ and defending your faith and knowing why you believe, what you believe. I would say it's becoming a thing. I would almost use the word revival, but it's becoming a thing at our school, even at the student-led level. This is my 7th year at the school, 5th year in my current role. I haven't seen this before at our school. It's something you can program to a point, but it's really got to be God that does it. We got to be faithful in that and noticing that. And so I think that began the journey of giving us some language, some context, some rails for what to talk about and how we do that. And it is a topic, even among students, I'll just hear it being talked about, apologetics, and why would you say that? What does the Bible say? Even just walking around campus, and that's not happened before. So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, that was a great, and this year again, now it is also a thing in our school. Like, of course we're all going. It's been a huge win. And again, sometimes it's like it's in there, but we need some language and some prodding, some prompting to go, oh, it's right there. I just got to have some courage. But language helps you kind of bring that to the surface. And so that conference has done that for us and our students.
It's just so valuable, the conferences themselves. There's a couple coming up in March, one in Seattle, one in Florida, so opposite corners of the country. You can see those dates and other opportunities within student leadership and learning at acsi.org/events. One last question I asked Chad was about those difficult conversations, since this apologetics topic will naturally carry a lot of maybe difficult conversations, encouraging conversations as well. But some questions that students may ask sometimes are easy to answer and sometimes pretty straightforward, but sometimes may come with a lot of baggage. Sometimes one of the potential answers of their question would be far from a biblical answer. So when students bring those questions up, and it's natural to be tense or be worried about it, how does Chad approach that with his staff, and philosophically, how do they create an environment of curiosity, but being smart about it, being Christ-centered about it? I asked him that question as we chatted.
It's hard, right? Because God can answer any question. God can handle any question. He's a big boy. He's not afraid of giving me a hard question. He's done that for ages and ages. And so how do we emulate that? Well, I think sometimes our insecurities or our biases or the need to be we have kind of from a good place though of I want every kid to follow the Lord. But if they're asking a question that seems like, oh, that's not the direction that I think that needs to go, sometimes we get nervous and aren't sure what to do with it. One thing we've tried to do at our school is just to foster a culture of curiosity. Curiosity that's not Christ-centered obviously can lead to crazy places at times in our world, but curiosity that's really like, I really want to know. I care about you. I care about your story enough to just sit in a hard question that you might ask, and just be okay to sit in it and actually leave it in tension. Maybe not even answer it fully, because we've at our school tried to equip. We're imperfect at doing it, but equipped our teachers to think not just what do you think, because we're not trying to convince students or persuade students. We're trying to equip them to where they may or may not know your opinion on a particular topic or issue, but they know what the Bible says, and they know where to pull from, and what other contexts say, what secular contexts say, that they know that. And so I think that fostering curiosity comes from a place of almost a non-anxious presence in our teachers, to where when the moment comes, you leave space for it in your own heart and spirit for a second, and you leave space for it to go, well, what does the Bible say? Let's talk about it. And even if it's because it's in real time sometimes. It's not like this is now the hard question section of the class, whatever content area it is. But in real time, sometimes it's hard. And so sometimes we've also said, teachers, if you're like, great question, honestly, I don't know. Fine. How good is that you're vulnerable and real and transparent? Again, that real piece. Are you real about this? You could give an answer. You could Google it or use chat to find it, but you could also go, let me dig into it and let me get back to you next time. And then come back not necessarily with the answer, but with perspective and places to start from so that they can dig into it. I think that fostering curiosity comes through equipping our students to just dig in themselves and being like, bring it. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to be wrong. I'm not afraid to get it wrong. I'm not afraid to not even know the answer. But let's do it. Let's do it. Because that's where on the other side of curiosity, that's often where the good stuff is. And we have to be more for that than we are getting the right answer in the moment.
Well, my thanks to Chad for sharing some of his thoughts. It's always encouraging, hopefully, to hear from other leaders, their thoughts, maybe going through some of the same things as you are, wrestling with the same questions. So just always want to have an opportunity for other leaders to share on this podcast. One other story I want to share in this episode before we close comes from what was a very difficult and still is difficult story, but a school that has persevered and had a restoration process through difficult weather circumstances, a hurricane that came through. That's Asheville Christian Academy. And their whole area and a wide swath of the eastern part of America was hit, of course, by Hurricane Helene back in September of 2024. And Asheville Christian Academy, being right on the river, was in a very difficult spot, the river that overflowed, and their whole campus essentially was flooded. There was a ton of damage. They got back to campus a lot quicker than they would have expected necessarily in January of 2025. There's a whole story that I was able to write after chatting with some of their school leaders, but I want to share a little snippet of that conversation. There's 3 different administrators you'll hear from in this snippet: Diane Poole, the director of development; Amber Roth, who's the head of finance and operation; and then Jason Putnam, the head of school. You hear those voices in that order, all from Asheville Christian Academy.
I had said to Amber early on, what are the chances we would ever be able to afford new flooring, new drywall, new paint across the entire first floor all at the same time, as well as a gym floor replacement? And the answer was never. And I had said to the athletic director, it gets sanded down each year and redone each year. And so that eventually is going to need replacement. And so I said to him, when were you looking at maybe a replacement for that gym floor? He's like, very soon. So, the Lord knew that. And so all of it was provided for, not in the most desirable circumstances, but, it was immeasurably more, if for sure, that we could have ever imagined.
For sure. And I think it's not, we want to be good, as little sense as this may make, we want to be good stewards of the disaster and what we learned and the opportunities that we have. That doesn't mean it wasn't hard, but you don't want to squander any opportunity to learn and to grow from something. And so even as we looked at the facility side of it, and like I said, 40 acres are under construction, we've had to look at it, the bent is go as fast as you possibly can. But when you do that, you may miss a decision that's going to impact future generations. And I think Jason, everybody who was on site said, what we don't want to do is make decisions that saddle future generations with this disaster. And so every decision, we're calling it a 25-year decision. And so we may have tapped the brakes on a process outside to make sure we were building it the right way, that we were being financially responsible, that just future generations of students would have the benefit of what we learned and the ways that we were able to grow and again steward the disaster well.
Yeah, I would add, so this is not a prideful statement, this is a God statement, but every square foot of the buildings and every acre outside will be better than it was before. And that is just an amazing thing to live through a disaster like that, have everything that we hold dear as far as our facilities impacted in the worst way, and then be able to come out on the other side having them been fully restored and better than they were.
Through no, we didn't do it. We just showed up on the 28th. Yeah.
I'd also like to say we've made a kind of a renewed commitment to continue reaching out to the community and helping this Shenandoah Valley. It's a food desert of sorts, also a lot because of what Jason said, that the grocery store in this immediate area is not reopening anytime soon. Even the post office is not reopening anytime soon. So there's great need in this valley. So we're trying to use every opportunity to welcome people to campus and help them in any way we can. So that's become an important aspect of this recovery as well.
Well, the support they received from a variety of Christian schools is very encouraging for them, and it's great to just hear a story of a Christian school persevering and coming out stronger on the back end, albeit, of course, not with the story closed by any means, but they're doing a lot better than they may have expected as of September of last year. So my thanks to them for joining me on this podcast. Thanks to you for listening or watching. It's been a pleasure to be with you. I'm Josh Warden on behalf of ACSI. Thanks for tuning in to the Stronger Together podcast.